Novak Djokovic has 24 Grand Slams. He just called himself half a step late on every shot he hit against one man. Andre Agassi says there is no breathing room once you're on court with him. Brad Gilbert, the coach who built Andre Agassi into a champion, says he cannot name a single player who beats this guy on his best day. This is not normal praise. This is the entire GOAT conversation shifting in real time, and it centers on one 24-year-old from the Italian Alps named Jannik Sinner. Start with the men who genuinely love watching him play. Andre Agassi, one of only 8 men in history to complete the career Grand Slam, says Sinner reminds him of his own game, but modern. Agassi points to the refusal to ever step backward, the flat clean ball striking, and the way Sinner never wastes a shot. Agassi went further and said that when Sinner is hitting from both wings, you cannot even tell which hand is stronger, because both sides hurt you the same. That is coming from a man who lived through the toughest matchups tennis has ever produced. Brad Gilbert agrees, and Gilbert does not throw around compliments lightly. He coached Agassi to multiple Grand Slam titles, and has broken down tennis for over 2 decades. Gilbert says if you put Agassi and Novak Djokovic in a blender, you get Sinner. Ball control mixed with offense, built for the modern game. Gilbert also pointed out something the stats prove. Across 9 straight matches against Alexander Zverev, Sinner dominated on serve every single time. Gilbert called that a pattern, not luck. Patrick Mouratoglou coached Serena Williams to 10 Grand Slam titles, and when he studied Sinner's game after the 2026 Wimbledon semifinal, his conclusion was blunt. No weakness technically, no weakness tactically. None. Mouratoglou explained that most players at the top level have one side you can attack, a weaker wing where the ball comes back shorter or slower. Sinner removed that option completely. Both sides hurt you the same, so there is no safe direction to hit the ball. Even Carlos Alcaraz, his biggest rival for the future of the sport, has nothing but respect. Alcaraz has said Sinner's progression over the past few years is something he genuinely admires, and that their rivalry is only going to get bigger as they both keep improving. Now here is where the story gets interesting, because the man who arguably built this version of Sinner is also the man losing to him the most. Go back to July 5, 2022. Sinner was 20 years old, ranked number 13 in the world, playing his first Wimbledon quarterfinal against 6-time champion Novak Djokovic. Sinner shocked everyone by winning the first 2 sets, 7-5 and 6-2. Djokovic came back and won the next 3 sets to close out the match. After it ended, coach Darren Cahill, who had just started working with Sinner that same tournament, walked up to Djokovic and asked him one simple question. What did you feel out there? Djokovic did something most legends would never do for a rising threat. He broke down Sinner's entire game, piece by piece. He said Sinner hit the ball beautifully but had no variation, no shape on his shots, never came to the net, and wasn't attacking second serves on return. Cahill took that blueprint straight to Sinner, and Sinner's response had zero ego. He said, "Give it to me. Let's start making these changes." What happened next changed tennis. By 2023, Sinner won his first Masters 1000 title in Canada. By early 2024, he snapped Djokovic's 33-match winning streak in Melbourne and went on to win the Australian Open. From that point forward, Sinner became Djokovic's toughest opponent on tour, eventually beating him in 4 separate Grand Slam semifinals. The same man who handed over the blueprint became the man who could no longer stop the player he helped create. Fast forward to the 2026 Wimbledon semifinal, and Djokovic himself said something remarkable in his own press conference. He admitted he was half a step late on basically every single shot. He called it a good old blowout and said there was nothing he could do. Djokovic, the greatest returner men's tennis has ever seen, said he could not even attack Sinner's first serve. He could only try to read it, block it, and keep the point alive. Then there is Alexander Zverev, and his story with Sinner has become almost painful to watch. Zverev made his first Wimbledon final in 2026 after one of the best grass court runs of his career. He still lost in 4 sets, 6-7, 7-6, 6-3, 6-4, making it 10 straight losses to Sinner. After the match, Zverev joked that he does not really like Sinner anymore because of it. But when he sat down for the real interview, Zverev said flatly that Sinner is the best player in the world, and there is nothing Sinner does not do better than him. Serve, return, forehand, backhand, movement, volleys, all of it. The numbers back up every single one of these legends. In 2026, Sinner finished with 44 wins and only 3 losses. a win rate of 93.6%. His rate of winning a big title, counting Grand Slams, Masters 1000 events, and the ATP Finals, is 1 every 4.2 tournaments, which is actually better than Roger Federer's rate of 4.4. During that Wimbledon run, Sinner landed 74% of his first serves and won 81% of those points, numbers that sound more like a smaller, quicker player than a man his size. His backhand slice rate sits at just 5% for the year, compared to a tour average of 19%. He almost never plays defensive on that side. He just hits through it. He is not perfect, and that is part of what makes this story real. In March 2024, Sinner tested positive twice for trace amounts of a banned substance. An independent tribunal found he did not intend to cheat and gain no advantage, tracing it back to a physiotherapist's over-the-counter healing spray. The case still ended in a 3-month ban.
Basically, and Eala stayed strong and has a huge win for her.
She fell to her knees on center court, and for a second the entire All England club just stopped breathing. Alexandra Eala, 21 years old, ranked 32 in the world, had just done something no Filipino tennis player, man or woman, had ever done in the entire Open era. She had beaten the defending Wimbledon champion, Iga Swiatek, 7-6-6-2, on the most famous tennis court on the planet. If you are Filipino, drop it in the comments right now, because I need a second too before I tell you everything that happened out there. Let's set the stakes first, because you need to understand exactly who Swiatek is walking into this match. She is the reigning Wimbledon champion. Last year, she won this exact tournament by beating Amanda Anisimova 6-0, 6-0 in the final, without dropping a single game. She is a multiple Grand Slam winner across every surface, grass, clay, and hard court. Eala had beaten her once before, back in March 2025 at the Miami Open.
Second time in her career she's beaten a player with such a high ranking, and that is how good it feels.
And Swiatek had answered that loss by beating Eala right back at Madrid later that year. So walking into July 4th, 2026, on center court, the head-to-head sat at 1 win apiece. This wasn't a nobody catching a champion cold. This was a rematch that both of them knew mattered. The first set alone lasted 84 minutes. That is not a set, that's a full fight. Both players held serve early, refusing to give an inch, and then Eala broke through in the 8th game and served for the set at 5-3. 1 game away. And then Swiatek did exactly what defending champions do. She broke straight back, leveled it at 5-5, and dragged the whole thing into a tiebreak. And the tiebreak is where this match turned into an instant classic. Eala raced out to a 5-2 lead in the breaker. She was 1 point away from cruising the set. And then Swiatek reeled off 4 straight points to flip it, reaching set point at 6-5. One forehand from Swiatek, and the entire momentum of the match changes forever. She went for it. She missed. Eala survived the set point, and from there the two of them traded point after point until it was 9-9, with the whole crowd frozen. Eala closed it out 11-9 in the tiebreak, sealing the first set after an hour and 24 minutes of the highest quality tennis you will see at this tournament. You could see it on Swiatek's face in the changeover. Frustration, disbelief. This is a woman who has lifted 6 Grand Slam trophies, and she looked shaken. And then Eala walked out for set 2, and just took the air out of the match completely. She broke to love to open the set, held, broke again for 3-0, and then broke a third time to go up 4-0 against the defending Wimbledon champion. Swiatek clawed 1 break back to make it 4-2, refusing to fold completely, but Eala answered immediately, held her nerve through a brutal final game filled with deuce after deuce, and finally closed out the match on her third match point with a forehand winner that sent center court into a full standing ovation. Final score, 7-6, 6-2 in 2 hours and 14 minutes. The numbers tell you just how one-sided the second set really was underneath all that drama. Swiatek finished the match with roughly double the unforced errors that Eala made. Eala won 68% of the points played on Swiatek's second serve, which is an absolutely brutal number against a former world number 1. She broke Swiatek's serve multiple times across the 2 sets. The head-to-head between them now sits at 2-1 in Eala's favor. And it's worth remembering, the last time before this that Swiatek lost to a left-handed player was back in March 2025, and the player responsible both times has been Eala. Then came the on-court interview, and this is the moment that is going to live in Philippine sports history forever. Eala stood there, voice cracking, eyes already wet, and she said that for someone like Witek, who has won so many Grand Slams, or someone like Serena or Venus Williams, a moment like this might look small. But for a girl who grew up in the Philippines, who trained after school with her brother and her grandfather, this is everything. And then, almost in the same breath, still crying, she pulled herself together and said the line that's already all over social media, that just because she's emotional doesn't mean she's satisfied. That single sentence tells you everything about who this competitor is. She lets herself feel it fully, and she's already thinking about the next round. And on the back of her visor the entire tournament, stitched in Tagalog, was a 6-word phrase that translates to once it grows, it cannot be stopped. She said it in her press conference before the match even happened. She wore it into the biggest win of her career. And now, after everything that happened on center court, that phrase doesn't read like a slogan anymore. It reads like a promise she just kept. Here's the part that actually puts this whole run into perspective. Before this year's Wimbledon, Eala had played 6 Grand Slam main draws in her career and owned a losing record in almost all of them. Just this past January, at the Australian Open, she was beguiled 6-0 in the first set by Alicia Parks and lost in the first round. Her third first-round exit at a major. 12 months before that, her ranking sat outside the top 100. And now here she is, seated 29th at Wimbledon for the first time in her life, having climbed over 100 ranking spots in a single year, having won her first grass court title in Birmingham just weeks before this tournament even started. She beat Renata Zarazua in the first round without losing her serve once, then battled back from a set down to beat Maya Joint, the same player who had knocked out Serena Williams just 2 days earlier, and now she has taken down the defending Wimbledon champion herself. With this win, Eala becomes the first Filipino player, male or female, to reach the 4th round of a Grand Slam in the entire Open era. Not the deepest run of her career, the deepest run any Filipino has ever made at a major, period.